This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Machine Games is working on a new Indiana Jones project. An open world Star Wars game is being worked on. God dog, can't wait to talk about that. We find out when we will get our first look at new gameplay for Resident Evil Village, and more acquisitions are allegedly taking place. All of these stories can be found here and quite a few more in episode 160 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to say welcome to the show. Welcome. Get comfortable, take your shoes off, hang your coat up, and relax, because we're gonna have a really good time. Now, before I officially get into the show, if you, the listener listening right now, if you want to be a part of the upcoming episode of listener feedback, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. We got a lot of news to get into this week, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to get on the sticks and play much of anything, so we're gonna skip past that, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into, well, God dog it, before we get into the gaming news, I do want to let you guys know one thing. If you want to listen to some previously recorded episodes of the podcast, you can go over to Google, type in the Analog Circle Podcast over there to take you to where you need to be, and you know the rest. Now, without further ado, let's get into this gaming news that went down this week. So I want to get started with Arcade 1-Up, because I came from the arcade era in gaming where you had to go to the arcade, make your bones. When you were fighting against someone in a fighting game, you were right beside them and you had to take that smoke where you were. So the arcade, it holds a special place in my gaming soul. So I just wanted to cover what Arcade 1-Up has coming out, and this is pretty fantastic what they're doing. So the people over there have been very busy because they announced 6 new cabinets. Shout out to you, Vaughn. Vaughn got some dope cabinets, brother. This brother is really about that arcade life. So I want to read these off to you guys. And maybe one of these cabinets might appeal to you, and you might want to pick it up. Now, at the moment, as I was reporting on this, or looked up the story, there is no release date or price points. They have not given those out, so just keep that in mind. So the first cabinet really hits a chord with me, and that is X-Men. Now, the original was 6-player co-op. However, this will feature 4-player co-op, but it has been said that the cabinet will feature online multiplayer, which will be compatible to others who own the same cabinet. So maybe through the multiplayer, you can get that count up to possibly 6. I have to say that X-Men arcade game was marvelous. Couldn't believe it. I mean, the Cyclops, Wolverine, Colossus, golly, I forgot the other. Storm was on there. I forgot the other ones, but that was such an amazing classic. I don't know why they have not made that, or made it in the past. Maybe it was in the past on Xbox Arcade. I'm not sure, but I would love to see something like that come back. 6-player co-op, even 4-player co-op, like it is on this arcade machine that 1-Up is behind. Well, Arcade 1-Up. But let me continue on. Now, what was the next one here? And also, before I move on, though, I do want to say that I think that is dope that they're going to have an online multiplayer feature on the cabinet, which, if it works, that's pretty awesome as well. Now, let me see. Now, let's see, what was the other one? Oh yeah, the arcade cabinet will also not only just come with X-Men, but it's going to come with Captain America and the Avengers in Galactic Storm. I'm not familiar with that one, but I remember Captain America and the Avengers because when you would die, it would be like, America still needs your help. I remember that joint was so crazy when I was a security ball playing it. So it's dope that it actually comes with 3 games all surrounding the Marvel universe, the X-Men universe, the Avengers. I mean, they're not in the X-Men universe, but y'all know what I'm saying. Just Marvel. Now, let's see, what was the next one? Now, the next cabinet they're working on is Killer Instinct, and the other games included with this one is Killer Instinct 2 and Battletoads / Double Dragon and Battletoads Arcade. So it's dope. This is a theme that these guys have with these arcade one-up machines. They're coming with multiple games, so that's really cool to see. Killer Instinct, that was another awesome game in the arcade that I loved, and just to see it coming home and having it with these extras on it is pretty cool. Now, after that, next up, and this one is extremely, God dog, this one really hits me in the heart, man, in the heart, is Dragon's Lair. And this will also come with Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp, and Space Ace. Now, all 3 designed by Mr. Don Bluth. I'm going to tell y'all, when I saw Dragon's Lair for the first time, I was at King's Dominion. King's Dominion, went into the arcade, and I'm looking around, seeing what new games are in there, things I haven't seen at Security Square Mall or at Westview, and I came across Dragon's Lair. God dog! I had never seen anything like it. In Dragon's Lair, it was a little more expensive than the other arcade games, so I didn't really get a chance to play. Little did I know, that was the birth of QTE, right there, Dragon's Lair, the grandfather of the QTE, where you had to move the arcade joystick to the left or to the right with the flashing lights. I had no idea. All I saw was amazing Saturday morning cartoon graphics, and I was like, my goodness, I would love to have this game at home. And it's funny because, man, maybe about a year or 2 ago, I was able to pick up Dragon's Lair on the Xbox One, and I played it through. It was wonderful. It was kind of like a childhood dream come true to have the real version, the arcade perfect version of the game at home, because Sega CD, they had it back in the day. It wasn't quite arcade perfect, pretty pixelated. I had got it back on the Amiga. That was not even close to the arcade version. But, years and years went by, and I was finally able to get it on the Xbox One. Arcade perfect. I just wish they would release all of the Space Aces and the Dragon's Lair Part 2, because I never got a chance to play that Time Warp. So, I mean, this is awesome that all 3 of these are going to be on this arcade cabinet. 3 amazing games, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this all comes out. I wonder how much these jokers are going to be. I got a feeling these are not going to be cheap. But next is the Atari Legacy Edition cabinet, and this includes Asteroids. This has actually a lot. This has Asteroids, Asteroids Deluxe, Centipede, Major Havoc, Missile Command. I had that on the Atari. Akka-Ara. I don't know what that is. Akka-Ara is spelled AKKA. ARRH, I don't know. Crystal Castle, Tempest, I remember that. Millipede, remember that. Gravatar, don't remember that one too much. Liberator and Space Duel. So those are all of the games that come with that cabinet, the Atari cabinet. Now next is the Capcom Legacy Edition. Now that comes with 1944, Commando, Darkstalkers, yeah, that's dope. Final Fight, classic. Ghosts and Goblins, classic. Matter of fact, that's coming out next month on the Switch, the remake, so y'all be on the lookout for that. It's gonna come with Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 The New Challengers, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. God dog, hold on. Jeez, me Christmas. Man, Capcom, god darn. They doing remakes of the remake of the remake. Man, I'm just noticing that. We were getting so many Street Fighters, these jokers wasn't trying to get the 3. This thing that Capcom does where they bring out the same game over and over, man, this ain't up, dude. They've been doing this since the doggone 90s. All of these Street Fighter 2s, Turbo and World Warrior and all of this stuff. God dog. But the last game outside all of them Street Fighters is Strider. That's going to be on there as well. Man, I actually really enjoyed Strider back in the arcade. When he would be running down that hill and he had to make that jump and the explosions would be happening in the background. Strider was dope. That was like one of my favorite games back in the day by Capcom. But let's move on. So next is the Bandai Namco Legacy Edition cabinet. And this comes with Dig Dug 1 and 2, Galaga, Galaxian, Mappy, Pack and Pal, I don't even know what that is, Pac-Land, Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus, Pac-Mania, Rompers, and Super Pac-Man. I would love for them to bring Super Pac-Man out. That was when he got huge on the screen. He was like half the size of the screen and would be tearing up them dots. That joint was dope. But lastly, it's the last cabinet. It's the Pong 4-player pub table, which comes with Circus Atari, Pong Doubles, Pong Sports, Quadra Pong, Warlord, Super Breakout, and Tempest. And shout out to GameSpot for the article. That's where I got it from. And one more thing, these cabinets are 3/4 the scale, and they do come with risers. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be the full Monty of an arcade. It's going to be a lot smaller. I'm sure you guys have seen these already in Walmart where they have them and they sell them. So yeah, not the big oversized super heavy arcade cabinets, and I think that's really cool. These are they have some really good games on them, quite a few of them, so I'm pretty excited. If I get the space, if I ever could get enough space, man, I would absolutely invest in at least 2 of these to have, just to have them, man. But anyway, let's move on into some more news. Let's talk about PlayStation. So during CES on Monday, we got more information on when some games will be releasing on PS5. So Kena Bridge of Spirits releases in March. Returnal releases March 19th, 2021. Little Devil Inside releases July of 2021. I'm actually pretty interested in that game. That game looks pretty good. Solar Ash is due out June 21st. Both Ghostwire Tokyo and Stray will release in October, and Horizon Forbidden West is still releasing sometime this year. Now, these next 2 titles are a ways out. Project Athena, they talked about that. Well, before I get into that, what I found interesting is, and it could have been a typo, they might not have had it up on display, but Deathloop, I didn't see anything on Deathloop on this list, but that's not to say it's not coming. And quite frankly, the big elephant in the room, no God of War announcements either, but to be fair, Ratchet and Clank, I don't think that was on the list either. So, and we know that's supposed to be coming out this year, so it could have been truly a typo. But moving into the bit of the distant future, they also mentioned some of those projects as well. So Project Athena is set for January of 2022, and the Capcom game Pragmata, which looked really interesting. It was CG, and I'm not all that far-fetched on the CG. It's not really my thing. I much rather have gameplay, but it looked interesting. That's set that's really out there in the future. That's set for 2023. And you guys might remember Pragmata as the game where the little girl looked like she was a robot. Her eyes had like robotic eyes and whatnot. And 1 minute they were on planet Earth, then they were out in space and, all of that stuff. So I don't know, man. But, that's at least the list. Once again, no God of War, no Ratchet and Clank. And also to be clear, Jim Ryan did not say these dates or years, but instead it was text at the bottom of the screen. So just remember that when he was at CES, he was talking and these dates, not these dates, but the games and the months came up at the bottom of the screen. So he didn't say anything about it. Anyway, let's move on because I don't want to get too long-winded. We have some pretty big and very exciting. This was like maybe some of the biggest news of the week. But this news is coming out of Bethesda news. Now, the publisher teased over on Twitter that they are working on an Indiana Jones game. Now, outside of that, details are very slim, but we do have a few. So, the developer behind this game will be Machine Games, who are also behind the Wolfenstein franchise. Todd Howard is the executive producer, and the Verge article also explains that this game will be made under the Lucasfilm Games label, which is focused on games from Disney and Lucasfilm. And as far as the plot and story goes, it's not much here to go on, but Disney did say, and I quote, the game will tell a Wally story, a Wally original standalone tale set at the height of the career of the famed adventurer, end of quote. Now, at this time, no specific platforms were specified. So that got me to wondering. Here it is. We know that Microsoft, they're still in the works. And that Wooly, I think I got that word wrong, but I'm gonna just go with it, man. It's gonna be a crazy story. How about that? But we know that Microsoft, they're in the middle of working out this Bethesda deal. We know that Machine Games, that's definitely under Bethesda's, under their banner. And if they can come to an agreement, because it's still in the air, it still could fall through. I really hope it does not. And they can seal the deal very soon. But if they do officially get them, that means that they would fall under the Microsoft's umbrella, which makes me wonder, do you guys think this game will be exclusive to the Xbox brand? I would say, it's very hard to say. I would want to say yes. I think it should be. But will Microsoft make that the case? I don't know, man. It's hard to say. And once again, once the deal is finalized, I'm sure they'll give more details. We'll understand where they're coming from a little better, because as it stands right now, Phil Spencer, he can't say much of anything because they're not under the umbrella. And I'm sure he wouldn't want to say anything that could jeopardize the deal. So I would say they need to do it, kind of have Indiana Jones as their own Nathan Drake, even though Indiana Jones, he's really the original. I'm sure everybody can agree with that. That's where Tomb Raider kind of got their ideas from, as well as Nathan Drake. Well, I should say Naughty Dog. So I think it would be nice if they could keep it exclusive, and the fact that it's being made by Machine Games, it makes me wonder. What does it make me wonder? I don't think this is going to be a first-person shooter. I think that would be a catastrophe if that was the case. I think that it will be a third-person, perspective action adventure game. The whip could be interesting, have some crazy mechanics with it, and hey, what better gaming team to have behind killing Nazis? I mean, we know that that's what Indiana Jones, he had the guy's face melted off and whatnot. It was Nazis he was fighting. So what better developer to be behind that as well, other than Machine Games, who was behind Wolfenstein. So I think that they should, Anyway, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Y'all heard me the first time. There's no need to harp on this story that much longer, but this is really good news, man. I wonder how far out it's going to be. Maybe 2-3 years. Who knows? Will we see something at E3? Will we see something when the deal is finalized? I mean, who knows? But it's very exciting, man. Very great to hear that these guys, they're out there, they're getting these deals, and once again, if they can get Bethesda, oh man, they could have an exclusive Indiana Jones game on their platform. And that's going to be the biggest question, I think, on everybody's mind. Will this game be exclusive or will it go third party? That's going to be that's going to be the biggest question. And I think that with that'll probably give us a pretty good idea of how Microsoft will carry out this Bethesda deal, whether or not certain games will make it to other platforms. And I know that Phil Spencer said it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. So, I mean, if this game turns out to be something amazing, and that's a big ask, that they can be on the same level as a Naughty Dog. I mean, I don't know if that's possible for Machine Games to be able to do that. Trust me, Wolfenstein, I've been a huge fan of that franchise, what they've been able to do with it, and I think they've done amazing work with it. But being on the level of a Naughty Dog, I don't know. But if the game can just turn out to be great in its own regard, for what it is, I think it would do Microsoft well to keep that at least timed exclusive on their platform. But at the same time, you can always say, but it'll be in Game Pass and I won't have to pay for it, if I want to try it out, if I'm in the Xbox or Microsoft's ecosystem. So it's a couple of ways they could play it. We'll just have to wait and see which route they go down. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. Let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, this game has got an update for the PlayStation 5 and Series S and X console version. Now, to be clear, this isn't a next-gen version, but there have been some new features that have been added. So for the Series S version, the frame rate has been increased from 45 frames per second to 60 frames per second. On the Series X, performance mode hits 60 frames per second, and the dynamic resolution can scale between 1080p and 1440p. On normal mode, post-processing has been increased to 4K resolution, and the dynamic resolution can range between 1512p and 2160p. Now, by the way, I found this story over on IGN just for clarity. Now, for the PlayStation 5, the frame rate has also increased from 45 to 60 frames per second, but there is no performance mode or normal modes. Instead, the post-processing is set at 1440p and dynamic scaling has been disabled in favor of a locked render resolution of 1200p. And to put this in a bit more perspective, the Ars article also mentions that the game previously scaled between 810p and 1080p. So it has gotten a heck of a resolution bump coming from those different resolutions to where they are now. And the fact that they're going from 45 to 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, going from between 1512 to 2160p, that is pretty incredible. So it looks like the Series X version is actually outperforming the PlayStation 5's version right now, because they said once again, the PlayStation 5 version with the post-processing is set at 1440p. So, looks like another win goes to the Series X. If you have that version of the game, you'll be getting the better looking version. Man, that's pretty awesome to hear. So, congratulations to Microsoft for getting a win on this one. This is pretty awesome. And congratulations just to the team over there at, who's behind that game? Man, oh man, so many different developers. they start kind of start kind of getting mixed up in my mind. Yeah, shout out to them for these updates, and yeah, sounds great, man. Very, very, very interested in seeing how they actually run. Matter of fact, it might have been a Digital Foundry video that might have gone up. I think I missed it. I haven't seen it, but yeah, congratulations to those guys. But speaking of Star Wars, we got some very intriguing news from Ubisoft that Ubisoft Massive will be developing an open world Star Wars game, and they will be using the Snowdrop engine. Man, that's a beautiful engine. And development will be led by Julian Griety, who was the creative director behind The Crew and The Division 2. Now, I'm not a fan of either of those franchises. I mean, especially The Division 2. Never played The Crew. The Division just didn't seem like my kind of game. But Julian did say something that did catch my attention during a Q&A on Ubisoft's website. Now, we said, quote, the new game, no, that wasn't the quote. He said, the new game will be a, quote, departure from the world of The Division, end of quote, and, quote, totally different, end of quote, from what the studio has made in the past. Now, that really made me say, okay, well, good. If it's not going to be anything like, The Division with the numbers popping up and the RPG kind of elements, then good. Long as you're making something that you haven't made before, then this could be something special. Now, I do want to talk about Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, because he chimed in and told Wired that it would be, quote, an original Star Wars adventure that is different from anything that has been done before, end of quote. And by the way, I got this on Kotaku, and just to put a time frame on this partnership between Ubisoft and Lucasfilm Games, VP of Lucasfilm Games, Douglas Riley, he did say they were in talks almost a year to make this happen. So these deals, once again, they don't just happen at the spark of a moment. We all know that, but just the fact that it was about a year in the works definitely just tells possibly how long the game has actually been in the works. So I'm sure that hardly anything has been done since they were talking about it for almost a year. I'm sure that, good grief, this thing is probably in its very, very early stages of development. But nonetheless, having an open world Star Wars game, I want to know what that looks like, especially with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, the graphical capabilities of those consoles. My gosh, I am so interested to see what these guys are able to come up with. And I understand that Yves Guillemot, he's saying what he has to say, talking about that, it's different from anything that has been done before. I get it. I mean, it might not be, but you gotta sell it. You gotta sell the doggone, you gotta sell the dream to the consumer, to the gamer, to get them invested in the idea and to want to support whatever you guys are doing. So hopefully it will be something different that we've never seen. And to be honest, I mean, they're already off to a good start because we've never seen an open world Star Wars game. Once again, I mean, man, are you going to be jacking the whatchamacallits, the X-Wings, and being able to go to where you want to go, kind of like a GTA style-esque kind of Star Wars game where are you a rebel or are you with the Jedi? Do you get to choose your own path? I mean, there's so many different ways an open world Star Wars game could go that, yes, it truly could be something that we have never seen the Star Wars universe in video games ever tackle. So that really makes me absolutely interested. I can't wait to see what these guys are able to do. I'm glad to hear that it's something new. They're not doing anything kind of based off of what they've done previously with the division. I said with the golly, I got tongue tied. But it's good to know that they're not basing it off of what the division did and that they're totally starting from scratch. And I'm happy to hear that. So we'll have to see what happens with this. I'm sure we won't see anything on this for quite some time. But an open world Star Wars game is in development. That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into some Capcom news. Now, Capcom revealed some great news over on Twitter. And what I like about this news is we won't be waiting long for it. Now, here is their quote. They say, don't miss the hashtag RE Showcase on January 21st at 2 p.m. Pacific. Join Resident Evil producers and our host, Brittany Brombacker, I think that's her last name, on a guided tour of Resident Evil Village, including a new trailer, first ever gameplay, and more Resident Evil news. End of quote. So you guys know that Resident Evil for me, Village, that first person perspective, it messes with me. I'm from the third person perspective era of Resident Evil. Even though I hear that first person perspective is still a really, really good game. I hear that. And it looks good. It looks good, but that perspective really it turns me off. But I do want to see what they're able to do with this. Being able to get the gameplay January 21st, that's not far off. Matter of fact, what's the day? The 17th, 18, 19, 20, 4 days from now. So I guess that's Thursday? This will be premiering. And, if the game looks good though, I mean, if it looks like it's solid and it could be something really, really amazing. I mean, my goodness, that RE engine is on 50. That thing looks incredible on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. So I can't imagine what they'll be able to do with it on the PS5 and the Series X. Now, they did say also on Twitter, and I didn't write this down, so I'm not going to be able to remember it verbatim, but they also said that Capcom, that is, they were having a beta for a Resident Evil game that nobody has played. You would have to go over to Twitter to register to try to be a part of that. And the interesting thing about this is that a couple of months ago, you guys remember we heard that it was supposed to be a beta, not a beta, but a demo. I don't know. Maybe they're one in the same beta demo, kind of blur the lines there, but we had heard that it was supposed to be something on the PlayStation that was supposed to be exclusive when it came to actually playing Resident Evil Village on the PlayStation brand. So maybe it could have something to do with that. Maybe these testers or these guys that are going to be in the beta will be beta testing that demo for the masses. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. But yeah, this is very cool. Be on the lookout January 21st for this news and being able to get that first look. And another interesting thing that I just want to point out here is they said and more Resident Evil news. So does that mean that we're going to hear something outside of Resident Evil Village that's Resident Evil related? I mean, could that be something else that we might get a chance to hear about? Only time will tell, but this sounds really good. I will definitely be tuned in to see what they're talking about. But let's get into some Nintendo Switch news. Now, well, actually, it's a game that's going to be on the Switch that was very unexpected. But Hitman 3, it looks like a cloud version will be released on Switch on January 20th. Now, more interesting, according to the IGN article, this cloud version is the exact same version as the other platforms, but will require a persistent internet connection to play. Now, this really kind of came out of left field because we've been hearing more and more and more about this cloud on the Nintendo Switch. And we know the limitations of what the Switch can do. My goodness, it can't compare to a series. I mean, well, definitely not a Series X or a PS5, but just to take it down a notch, it can't even compete with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 when it comes to the graphical fidelity of those consoles. So if this Hitman 3 is going to be the exact same version as the other platforms, then are we looking at a game that is comparable to bare minimum what an Xbox One version or a PlayStation 4 version of the game may look like? That's sensational. And we know that this is possible because, once again, Control, that was another game that was over the cloud. And I don't know how well it came out. I'm not sure, as far as how comparable it was to the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 versions, but just the fact that they could get a game like that on the Nintendo Switch is pretty big within itself. I mean, I know Doom Eternal was on there as well, and Digital Foundry went over that, and it was cool. It didn't look great, but they were able to port it. So once again, is this the strategy going forward with Nintendo? We've heard about this Nintendo Switch Pro and what it's possibly capable of doing, thanks to the guy the leaker that talked about the update, getting the alleged information from the update that Nintendo had put out. But it's just interesting to hear that, man, Hitman 3 is supposed to be the exact same version as the other platforms. Interesting. Man, I'm definitely interested to see how this comes out. And is that the play going forward with the Nintendo Switch? Is it not so much of, making a brand new Switch, but just implementing this cloud technology into it just a little bit more to get those graphics that you could only get on next gen or last gen consoles? It'll be an interesting play. But we can move on from that though. So this next story is being reported by Brad Sams, who is reporting on more acquisitions taking place. Now, he said, quote, "There are some big industry names out there being approached by Microsoft included. But then you also have Amazon and you also have Google," end of quote. Now, Sams also went on to say, quote, "Sony is part of the conversation, but it doesn't seem to be as much as Google and Amazon are," end of quote. And to top it off, Brad Sams, he left us with something interesting here. He says he knows of 3 big acquisition deals that are ongoing from various companies. However, he never named who they were. So it makes me wonder what 3 big acquisitions are going on out there that are ongoing where they're trying to staple these down. But I mean, we've heard for quite some time that Microsoft, by the way, I got this from PSU, but we've heard for quite some time that Microsoft, they're going to continue to get acquisitions. Of course, it would be in Google's their best interest to continue to do the same, as well as Amazon, because those guys are still trying to get their footing on the gaming side. But it seems like when he says that, Sony is part of the conversation, but it doesn't seem to be as much as the others, it makes me wonder, well, are they pretty confident where they are? And if I'm Sony, to be honest, man, they have some of the absolute best talented studios in the industry. If you have Naughty Dog and you have, and I'm giving them their credit because they've really been proving themselves with this Ghost, man. Ghost of Tsushima looks phenomenal. You have a Sucker Punch, and then you have Sony Santa Monica. Good gosh, man, those are 3 huge powerhouses that Microsoft would love to have just one of those. Anybody would love to have just one of those 3 houses underneath their umbrella. And you just look at the quality of the games that they've continued to be able to pump out. I mean, Insomniac Games is there now. That's their newest acquisition. I mean, maybe Sony is just like, kind of good. We might get one or two. I've heard Blue Point, they're supposed to be on the chopping block. Well, not the chopping block. I don't want to say that, but they're supposed to be on the acquisition, block, possibly by Sony picking them up. But of course, nothing is concrete. We don't know for sure. But these acquisitions, man, it seems like they are revving up a lot, man. It's starting to kind of go rampant in the industry. I mean, I'm probably being a little extra with that, but Nintendo, we just saw them pick up the Luigi Mansion developer. EA just picked up Codemasters, and they actually took that deal from Rockstar, who were trying to pick them up as well. And then, Brad Sam's talking about that there's 3 other big acquisitions that are ongoing right now. And I mean, we don't know what they are for sure. I mean, he never name dropped them, but if it is true, then that's on the table as well. So yeah, it seems like acquisitions are not going anywhere for anybody in this gaming space. And once again, and I'm repeating myself here, sound like a CD on repeat, but we heard that the Rockstar CEO, he said that he really believes that this is going to be commonplace, where a lot of these gaming companies are going to be picking up a lot more acquisitions to have in their wheelhouse. So it continues, man, but we'll see. Hopefully Microsoft, they're able to pick up maybe 1 or 2 more. I mean, but with Bethesda, God dog, man. I mean, do they really need any more? As it were, I mean, realistically, I think, man, brother, I think we might be being just a little greedy right now. I mean, God dog, what did they have, like 23 studios up under their belt? 23? I mean, what you want them to have? 33? God dog. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that Microsoft, if they can get this deal to go through with ZeniMax/Bethesda, I think those guys are going to be just fine. But I'm going to go ahead and move on. I don't want to harp on it too much longer. I'm going to try to make this episode an hour and try to get everything back on track. So let's get into some quick news over on Twitter. Now, actress Melina, I believe her name is Juergens, Juergens, who plays, golly, I'm getting this all messed up. I was off to such a good start. But Senua, she plays the character of Senua from the Hellblade games. She posted a picture of her in costume makeup for the character, where she said, and I quote, "For every battle won, a greater battle takes its place. Hashtag Senua Saga. Hashtag Hellblade Senua Sacrifice." Makeup at Puff Jockey. I guess that's the person doing the makeup. End of quote. So I got this from Comic Book and comicbook.com, I believe. And it got me to thinking, man, okay, she's talking. She's, it ain't much. She's showing herself in, her little makeup, for Senua. Try to get it together. She might be reading some lines, or was about to read some lines that day. And it made me start to wonder, is this just a snippet? And it's not really, it's no gameplay. It's nothing like that. I could be reading way deeper into it. But is this a bit of a prequel, or just a bit of a lead up to them possibly revealing some news very, very soon on this game? Because they have been extremely quiet over there at Ninja Theory. They haven't said a peep for a long time. The last time I believe we heard from those guys was when they were talking about it. E3, you could visit some of the places that they went to shoot for the game. It wasn't even real gameplay. They were just talking about going to some of the locations that they shot and looking at the pictures, but nothing on the game. And I can't recall hearing anything since then. So with her popping up, not much here. It's not much, but the possibility of, her coming out there and saying what she said, could it mean that they are going to be talking about, Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice very, very soon? I hope so. The game has been in development. I would have to imagine, man, at this point, what would you guys say? Maybe 2 years or so, at least a year, because we know that we saw it. What was that, last year at the Video Game Awards? I believe they showed it. Or was it 2019? No, it had to be 2020. No, maybe it was 2019. It was the end of 19, because that following year, that was the lead up to the console. So yeah, maybe they're close to 2 years into development with this. And I would think that by now you should possibly be able to show something off. So maybe we'll get something soon. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it's just, like I said, it's hopefully a segue into some more news, some bigger news about the game. But, now, last week, God dog, I embarrassed the heck out of myself. Probably embarrass myself every week when I'm on the podcast. But last week, I have to make a major correction, from that episode about Steam. Now, Steam, God dog, I was so far off, but Steam actually has 120 million monthly active players. Now, that 24.8 million people I talked about were concurrent player counts on Steam. That was how many concurrent players were on Steam at one time. I said, golly, I jumped out the window last week with that information. My gosh, how embarrassing. So I just wanted to make that correction. Nobody came at me from the PC side. It was awesome. I was shocked that nobody said, what the heck is this fool talking about? We got millions upon tens of millions. Yeah, y'all do. I stand down. 120 million monthly active players. God dog. That's pretty doggone strong. That's PlayStation 4 numbers right there. Y'all got it. But, yeah, moving on. God dog. Wait a minute. Should I go down this road? Man? Insane. Hey, man, forget it. I'm going to say it. You guys got 120 million. That is phenomenal. Trust me, that's huge numbers. I ain't taking nothing away from you. But Steam has been around a couple years, bro. It's been around a couple years, man, on PC. And you guys got 120 million, and the PlayStation 4 hasn't been around as long as Steam, and they got around the same numbers. This is just very, very interesting. Why'd I mention that? Simply for the fact of, PlayStation, well, let's just say consoles are pretty strong, man. Pretty strong out here in these gaming streets. That's about it. We definitely buy games. We don't pirate them. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. A shout out to the PC gamers that buy their games and don't pirate them. Shout out to y'all for supporting the industry. We love y'all, and keep up the great work. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Yes, indeed, to the other PC guys, like Scarface said, yeah, man, keep up the bad work. Now, let's see, what do we have here? Now, Sony, we gonna get back into some Sony news. It's only, I'll tell you, PC guys, these cats, man, some of them, they really get up under my skin. But once again, to the ones that are good, they're cool, and they play their games, and they just real easy going, man. Shout out to y'all, man. But, yeah, let me go ahead and move on. Sony has filed another patent. Now, this was discovered by Scrub Wiki. Now, the patent would allow players to leave text and audio notes in-game for other users. Now, the Game Rant article says the PlayStation 5 patent is described as, quote, a method for managing user-generated gameplay advice, end of quote. Now, that will live, quote, within a game space using a virtual coordinate system, end of quote. So to a certain extent, it seems like it could be used as a bit of a cheat guide or something to give you a heads up warning about an upcoming situation or an obstacle, because they had showed a picture of Killzone. And in this picture, of course, it was just a mock-up of what it could look like if this patent goes through, where it said, it had like this text at the top that said, look out for the man around the corner. And then on the other side, it was saying something to the effect of, shoot him first or something like that. Not remembering it verbatim at all, but it was kind of something on the lines of that. So, I think this would be cool. I'm sure that it would be an option, whether you could turn it on or off. Maybe in a game like Demon Souls, that's like really extra hard. Super hard. Maybe this would really come in handy on a game like that, so you could get these clues to help you to get through the game a little better, maybe with a little less of a headache. So we'll have to see if this actually comes to fruition, but seems like they're really trying to continue, Sony that is, to make their games player friendly and to make the games as inviting as they possibly can. But let's go ahead and get into some quick news here. Now, Samurai Showdown is coming to Series X and S on March 16th and will run at 120 frames per second. But if you own the previous gen version, you'll be able to play it on the Xbox Series X and S at no additional cost, thanks to Smart Delivery. Yeah, that's about it for that. Now, let's move on to, this is some crazy news. It's not super crazy. It's just interesting how much of a stranglehold. Anyway, let's get into it. So according to Famitsu and shared via GameIndustry.biz, around 6.85 million consoles were sold in Japan in 2020. And out of that number, 5.9 million were either the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Lite, meaning Nintendo accounted for 87% of all consoles sold, while combined, the PlayStation 4 and 5 combined sold around 798,000 units. So once again, God dog, let that sink in. Nintendo is killing it so much over in Japan that they have 87% of the market. Well, they had it in 2020. God, dog, you mean to tell me that between the 4 and the 5, they couldn't even break 1 million? And Nintendo sold 5.9. I can't blame Sony for giving up on Japan. They're like, God, dog, we don't even belong here anymore. We are getting mollywopped in our own home country. Well, Nintendo was from there as well, but they're getting killed. This is a slaughter. That seems like, gotta be honest, man. That seems like, and this ain't even a shot, but good grief, I gotta say this, man. It's almost, it's not quite that bad, because that's so one-sided. It's ridiculous. But it's almost like Microsoft, the Xbox brand over here in the States with, and Sony being over here with the PlayStation. It's like, man, it's no comparison. Even on your home turf, you are still getting beat up. Not quite that bad. Gee whiz, 87% Nintendo accounted for over there in Japan. That's a monopoly. That may as well be a monopoly, man. Sony is getting destroyed over there in Japan by Nintendo. Did you ever think you would see the day that Nintendo was kicking Sony's tail up and down the street? This is unbelievable. I mean, to be fair, I can't even lie. Nintendo is beating up on everybody right now, to be honest. I mean, they beating up on Microsoft. Microsoft is getting the fade, man. They catching it. Sony is catching it. Nintendo has just done amazing with this Switch, man. I gotta give them a lot of credit. They put a lot of M-rated games on there. They've had great first-party games. The hybrid system, it just works for them, and it seems like they're not slowing down with this cloud situation going on with the Switch. They could continue on for quite some time on this crazy run that they're on, but once again, I get it, man. Sony is like, we gotta play to our strengths, and right now Japan is just not it. But let's go ahead, man. I believe we're getting close to the end of the show. Yeah, we got 2 more stories to go over. We might just miss the hour. But over on Xbox Wire, they revealed all of the exclusive Xbox games coming out in 2021. Now, they are as follows. You have Adios. You have, what else did I write here? You have The Artful Escape, The Ascent, The Big Con, Dead Static Drive, Echo Generation, Exo Mecha, Exo 1, The Gunk, Halo Infinite, The Last Stop, Lake, Little Witch in the Woods, The Medium, and that's coming out very soon, January 28th. You got Microsoft Flight Simulator, Psychonauts 2, RPG Time, Sable, Scorn, She Dreams Elsewhere, Shredders, Shredders. That's a snowboard game. You have Song of Iron, Tunic. Been really looking forward to that. It looks interesting. 12 Minutes, Unexplored 2, The Way of Farer's Legacy. You got Warhammer 40K. Yeah, it's going to be dope. Dark Tide, Way to the Woods, The Wild at Heart, and the Yakuza Remastered Collection, which comes out on January 28th, and Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, which will release on March 25th. And lastly, you have Crossfire X that'll be coming out this year as well. Now, that is a total of 31 games. Some of them not exclusive. I mean, the Yakuza, I believe the Remastered Collection, I think that's already on PlayStation 4, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I know Psychonauts 2, that's going to also be on PlayStation. And that might be about it. But 31 games, that's a ton. Now, granted, not all of these will probably be games that you're looking forward to. But for me, I can tell you several games on this list that I really want to check out. The Ascent, I've been looking for that. That has that cyberpunk kind of look and feel to it, that isometric kind of view. I'm really looking forward to that and expecting that to be very good. The Gunk, that's another game I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for that. Even Halo Infinite in its bad state. Those latest screenshots that I saw of the game, it made it seem like they've put in some work and it looked a lot better. So I'm really looking forward to Halo Infinite, and a game that I never thought I would ever say that I'm looking forward to, but I am, because of what the game is able to do with the real-time weather effects and snow being a factor, rain being a factor, you actually being able to fly over your house or your neighborhood. I'm looking forward to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I can't believe I'm saying that. My gosh. But it's so interesting just to see, how that's going to look flying around Baltimore from BWI Airport. I'm interested in that. But Scorn, that's another game I'm looking forward to. No, it hasn't shown great. It looks, oh man, it looks like some HR Geiger on 10 situation. But hopefully it'll be a good game. It does have my interest. And 12 Minutes. That game, I mean, it seems like the story might captivate me. It doesn't look great graphically. It does not. But what it could be, as far as the story goes, it could be interesting. Tunic, Like I said, that game looks like Zelda. Very interested in that. I've been actually kind of looking forward to that for it seems like years now, but it's finally going to make its way out this year. And another game that I'm looking forward to, and I've talked about it before, is Warhammer 40K. That game looks absolutely amazing. So I would say that that's a solid list. Of course, I know that you guys might not feel the same way. The games that I just named, you might say, man, all of those joints suck, and I'm not looking forward to any of them. The list is horrible. I understand that. I can only speak for me. And for me, it looks like they have some games on this list. I mean, good grief. 31 games. And out of the 31, I'm looking forward to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. That's not bad for me. I mean, that's a pretty good ratio. And who knows? 8 of them. Some of these games that I'm not very familiar with, they might be good. I mean, I don't know what the Artful Escape is. I have no idea. I don't know what the Big Con is. What the heck is that? But they might be good games in the long run. So we'll see, but 31 games. It looks like Microsoft is finally coming out of that fog that they were in, and the games are coming, guys, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, this is the final story, and we're not going to make it under an hour. God dog. But this is the final story for the week. Herman Hulse, he sat down for an interview with CogConnected.com where he was asked about his game of the year, where he said, and I quote, "In fact, you cannot expect me to choose just one game here, so I am not going to. By the way, I am also very impressed with the work that Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog did to make both titles run so well on PS5. End of quote. Now, the interesting thing about this is, we've seen Digital Foundry. They've talked about Ghost of Tsushima on the PlayStation 5. They've done some breakdowns, and it's a great game. It's beautiful on the PlayStation 4. Game is amazing. I don't know how the world Sucker Punch got that much juice out of the PS4. It is a really amazing looking game. But the interesting thing about this is that, on the contrary, we have never heard of The Last of Us Part 2 running so well on the PlayStation 5. And I even went back into Digital Foundry's archives just to check, because normally if a game is running a little different, they're getting a boost, performance boost, or, something brand new is being added to the game, whether it's resolution or just something of note, they're usually all the way on top of it. But we have not seen, and I look, like I said, that's what I was trying to get to. I looked through the archives of Digital Foundry, and they have nothing. They don't have The Last of Us Part 2 playing on the PlayStation 5, making a comparison. And because of that, it started to make, me wonder, and I'm going out on a limb here, but could Herman Hulse be talking about an enhanced PlayStation 5 version of the game? I mean, after all, we have seen Naughty Dog put The Last of Us on PlayStation 4 not long after it was released on PlayStation 3. It might be a bit of a stretch, but could he have been possibly talking about a PlayStation 5 Last of Us Part 2 version? I mean, it would be absolutely amazing, guys. I mean, we've heard this rumor before, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, but we had heard that it was coming, and Herman Hulse talking about that he loves the work that Naughty Dog was able to do, and getting the game running on the PlayStation 5. I mean, it would be so awesome that if they would to do that, because I think that the demo that we saw at E3, I think it would match that and possibly exceed it, because Digital Foundry, they did the breakdown, and the PS4 version versus the E3 demo, it came up a little short. Not much. It wasn't egregious by a long shot. They came really, really close. But with the PlayStation 5's power, I think they could hit that benchmark and exceed it. And for me, honestly, I would buy The Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation 5 because I loved the game that much. And then think about this. Now, I'm sure they would also make it available on the PlayStation 4 because if they didn't, that would be egregious. But if they were to make the PlayStation 5 version, would they, and they also included the online portion of the game, I think that would be dope, man. I think that would be dope. And, they also would bring it out for the PlayStation 4, but they could market it as, this mode has 120 frames per second or something like that. I don't know, just something extra to add, into the box, kind of like they did with The Last of Us on the PlayStation 4, where they put the DLC included with the game, just something extra to make you feel like you're getting not just the game, but a little bit more for your money. So yeah, maybe they could add the multiplayer into it as well. And, that would be awesome, man. It would be great. But, I think that is, well, speaking of Naughty Dog, did I mention that story, man? Let me see. Did I skip something here? Because I thought that I wrote down that, I guess I didn't. But, if you guys didn't know, Neil Druckmann, he was talking about that they're hiring over at Naughty Dog for something exciting, so they're in the works of hiring people and getting people on the team, on board, to start up something new. I would say that it's multiplayer, but, I don't think you need a new team of, people or hire more people to do something that it seems like you are already staffed, with enough people to do. I mean, I'm not in Naughty Dog's doors and I don't know how many people they have, but I can't imagine that they would need more people to do a multiplayer. So, that game that we've heard about, that the alleged first person sci-fi game that they're supposed to be working on, maybe they're working on that or something new. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, man, this is starting to get late. So that is the end of the gaming news this week, which leads me to the question. We're not going to play video game theater this week, but I do want to play a clip of audio for you guys, and I know you guys saw the question of the week, but this is what prompted it. So let me play this audio, and we'll be back after this.
Hey everyone, my name is Marcin Iwiński and I'm the co-founder of Projekt. When I started Projekt 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When Projekt Red, the game development part of Projekt, was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now. Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet. I and the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this, and this video is me publicly owning up to that. Please don't fault any of our teams for what happened. They all are incredibly talented and hardworking. Myself and the board are the final decision makers, and it was our call to release the game. Although, believe me, we never ever intended for anything like this to happen. I assure you that we'll do our best to regain your trust. Now I'd like to tell you how...
So yeah, we heard right there that, Mr. Marcin, one of the head guys over there at CD Projekt Red, he's coming out, he's owning up to the situation at hand. He's saying he apologizes. They want to gain back our trust, the gamers' trust. It was never their intent to ever have anything come out this way. They always wanted to communicate with the gamers, and this was not something that they wanted. Don't blame the team, blame him as well as the higher ups, because it was their decision ultimately as to how things turned out. So after hearing these different well, not these different, but this apology, I wanted to know just from you guys, can CD Projekt Red gain back your trust? And it just seems like, man, they have not caught any breaks here. I mean, people are talking about they could be sued. More information came out about the 12-minute demo where that was fake. They didn't start production on the game until 2016. I think AB had sent me that article. Shout out to you, brother. Matter of fact, shout out to you too, Cody Clark. I saw the article you sent me. I'll probably read that later on this week during listener feedback. But they have really caught a real hard break with this situation. And, man, they have just not been given any favors. So I just wanted to know, I'm not going to make this a long-winded, question. I think that they can make up for it. We've seen this before. EA, they've continued to do this craziness. But, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that came out great. And they got a W up under their belt thanks to Respawn. So, I mean, I think they can make up for it. I don't take CD Projekt Red as that type of company that wants to do bad by the gamers. I think they really do care, and I think they want to release the best product that they can. I mean, it was very ambitious. The previous console generation just couldn't handle what they were trying to do. And I'm sure, once again, upper management, it being their call, they're trying to get the money. That's all they care about. They're trying to get the money and get as much as they can. And you'll make a lot more releasing on three, four, possibly 5 different platforms versus maybe 2 or 3. So, yeah, that's my question. If you want to be a part of the next show, the listener feedback, you can call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and thank you guys again for being here. Sorry for a bit of a longer episode this week. I got to try to keep my eyes on the time, man. It kind of gets away from me. But once again, I truly appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for rocking out with me for this hour and 11 minutes that we've been together. And I'm going to wrap it up. But before we officially wrap it up, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until later on this week, when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.